Right, we're running. Go.
G'day Alex, look, thanks for the invitation to give this little demonstration of the Melbourne Voyager incident. As you may not know, or you may know, my name is Rob Everett. I was the leading signalman on the bridge of Melbourne on the night of the collision, and therefore sent all the signals to Voyager on the tactical primary voice circuit. And my opposite number on the Voyager, as most of you would know, was Gary Evans. I've just made a little board here, because over the years I've been concerned about the manoeuvres and I haven't quite understood some of the diagrams I've seen, so I've made up my own board, and I'd just like to go through the various signals that led up to the collision, which was fairly straightforward, and there weren't that many of them. Okay, prior to the incident, both ships were operating some 20 miles east of Jervis Bay, and during the last dog, we were doing radio calibration trials, and Voyager was some 5 miles south of us. At about, I had the first watch, and at 19:30 Voyager was called in and stationed in the rescue destroyer position, because she was going to be rescue destroyer for the night flying operation, which was doing touch and goes from with aircraft from Nowra. So she was called in, stationed in the rescue destroyer position, but we were steaming north. You can see on this board here, north here, south, east, and I'll put these two marks there because they're important with the manoeuvres. That's 020 and this is 060. So at 19:30 she was called into that position. You notice she's on the bow, but in actual fact we were about to turn south to the flying course, which was 180. Now I've got the signals here and I'll just go through them because it's a bit easier than trying to remember. So at 10 minutes to 8, the ships were ordered to turn to the flying course, turn to port, 180. So let's turn the ships to port, like that. Now that put Voyager into the rescue destroyer station, which was, the flying course was 180, and her station was in respect to the flying course. In fact, it was 200 degrees from the flying course, or in other words 20 degrees off the port quarter of the carrier, but stationed on the course, on Melbourne's course, and she was 12 to 1500 yards back. Next thing happened, Melbourne altered course to 175, just a 5-degree turn, and which alters the flying course to 175, so she had to alter as well to take up a new station. Speed was 22 knots, and at 8:30 the flying course was altered to 190, so not much, just at 10 degrees, and she came around to that, but because she was stationed in relation to that course, she had to swing over here a little bit further out onto 030, still in her position. Now interestingly, at about 20 to 8, the captain of the Melbourne asked me to ask Voyager what speed she was making. So I came up using call signs, but to Gary, and the signal I sent was, "What speed do you make?" And he must have inadvertently left his Pressel switch open on his microphone, because I heard him ask the officer watch, what speed did they make? And the officer watch came back and said 21, and Gary subsequently came up and said, we make 21. So that gave me an indication that communications were quite clear on the night, and it was all calm and peaceful. At 20:42, ships altered to the course of 020 by turning to starboard, because the wind was very, very light, and the captain was not happy with the wind over our deck for the aircraft doing their touch and goes. So he was searching for the wind. We turned to starboard to 020. Both ships turning together, I can't manoeuvre them together. Okay, so remember she's still on 030, which put her fine on our starboard bow. And we stayed there for a little while. According to this, it was about 5 minutes before the captain decided that there wasn't sufficient wind on 020, so they thought they'd try another bearing, which happened to be 060. So that both ships turned to 060. Now you can see Voyager swap bows. Quite simply, she's gone onto our port bow. We stayed there for another 6 minutes, and it was decided by the command on Melbourne that there was insufficient wind on that course, but the wind on the 020 course was better. So 6 minutes after that manoeuvre, ships altered back to 020, which, as you can see, put Voyager back on the starboard bow. So she's gone from port to starboard. It's come back to on the starboard bow. Now, almost immediately, in fact, according to my timing, 1 minute after that turn back to port to 020, we sent our final signal, which says flying course was 020, speed 22. That was the executive signal for Voyager to take up her rescue destroyer station, which is here. Now, she had several options, I suppose. She could have gone across the bow, which they chose not to. They could have spun around, you know, come up here like that, which they didn't do. What they were seen to do, what you were seen to do, altered out to starboard, and on the bridge of the Melbourne, it was observed and commented upon that Voyager was doing what they call a fishtail manoeuvre. And the fishtail manoeuvre is, you know, where you do a manoeuvre like this, losing distance. Melbourne, of course, is still proceeding up here at 22 knots. And so she'd go out there, come back, and by then to be there, and then back, and then eventually duck in under the stern as Melbourne went up there. So what actually happened was that the signal was given for her to take up her rescue destroyer station. She turned out, she then curved back again and remained on that course until she put herself under the bow. And it's difficult to know why that happened, but she kept on coming in there like that. We kept on going up here, and even though on the Melbourne, when it was observed that she was on a collision course, our navigator called half speed astern both engines. The captain immediately countermanded that order to full speed astern. But by the time we hit, I don't think we were still doing 21 or 22 knots. The engines would not have even engaged in the stern, and we hit around about the bridge area on the port side and drove straight through the Voyager. The bow and the ship rolled over to her starboard side. Bow went down our port side and sank fairly immediately, anything between, I think Alex said 2 minutes, but you know, for 3 minutes. The stern went down our starboard side and stayed afloat for some 3 hours. We went 100 yards or so, and by then we stopped, and then we started effecting recovery. The damage to Melbourne caused us to sink 2.5 feet by the bow. And it was, I was on the bridge observing it. I could see the collision was going to happen. It was obvious that something was going to happen. Sparks on the leading edge of our flight deck from the bridge and the mast arrangements of Voyager. I've been asked what was the bump like. I braced myself in the flying control position just on the port side of our bridge, and the best way I can describe it is that you remember in those days we used to have movies on board. on reel-to-reel projectors. One of the mess decks was having a film, and remember the projectors used to stand on the stand. When we hit, the projector and stand fell over. So that was the bump in the Melbourne, considerably less than the bump in the Voyager. And to the best of my ability, that's the manoeuvres as I understand them leading up to the collision. Thank you.